I'm Jay Pitts, a real estate broker, agent, leader, and investor. For the last decade, I've navigated the craziest of real estate markets this country has ever seen, selling over 2,000 homes, moving in and out of markets, always ahead of the curve. And now I'm bringing that perspective to you. This is your resource, and Real Talk About Real Estate starts right now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Resource Real Talk About Real Estate. I'm Gabe Pruitt.
And I'm Jay Pitts.
Back for another episode. It's been a couple weeks. We have the new podcast that's out right now. Remember, if you're listening now and you haven't listened to Hour 502, make sure to check it out. But today we're back for another episode of Resource. More tips for you, more tactical advice that you can use in your business today. And today's episode was one we were inspired by pretty simply because something that we do on this team, and Jay, you can speak to this a lot, is tracking our metrics, maybe to an insane degree, I would almost say.
It's very tactical.
Okay.
Very tactical.
I managed to get the word out in the first
You definitely got it out in the first 30 seconds. The intro to the episode, tactical. Let's get tactical. We still need t-shirts. Resource, Marcy. We should probably welcome the new addition to the podcast room for recording today.
She's giving us the kill sign.
She's giving us the kill sign.
Luckily, there's not a camera for
you. Our newest producer, Miss Marcy Humble. Welcome. She doesn't have a mic, so she's not going to say hi. But no.
She plays a big part of our tactical role of tracking, too. That was one of the things I want to talk about, and I'm glad that she's here, is we're talking about all of the different metrics that our team tracks. Now, so the obvious ones that you guys are all thinking about, you know, GCI and how many units are closed and all these different
average
things.
Sales price.
Of course, we're tracking
list
that
of sales
stuff.
Price ratios, things like that.
Exactly. But when I say to an insane degree, I mean, we're tracking things that would blow your head up. We have a spreadsheet. How many years in the making is this monster spreadsheet?
I mean, it's a decade in the making. Like Marcy and I have really picked up, well, I should say Marcy has picked up. She manages this thing. But at somewhat my direction, we have picked up the pace to like light speed. It's expanded. It's like 184 tabs. Mm-hmm. Like if we lost this thing, which by the way, we need to talk redundancy here. If we lost this thing, we would be in trouble.
It's like the holy grail of this business.
It is the absolute holy grail of spreadsheets. And so point being, we track a lot of things, and we track some things that you may not think to track. And these metrics give us a lot of meaning. They allow us to make decisions on the fly. They allow us with, some tweaks, some things, some culture things about our team that we've kind of hacked to collect the right data. We've been able to manipulate it in such a way to give us the kind of information we need to make decisions on the fly.
Exactly. And if you remember back in season 1, we had an episode where we talked about KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. And we talked about leading and lagging indicators. It was very philosophy heavy on why we track what we track. But today, like we said, we want to keep it tactical. And so today's episode is the top 5 metrics that your team is probably not tracking right now that you should be tracking. So I want to dive right in. We've come up with a list of 5 of the metrics that we track that maybe is something that you're not tracking right now, but is vitally important for our team. So Jay, first ones first, let me talk to you about commission percentage on each transaction. We're tracking that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talk often about on this podcast about, antitrust and like the theory behind commission and what commission compression has taken place in the marketplace, what consumers have come to expect. But I think probably have no data to back this up, but I think that realtors are actually fairly good at goal setting.
Okay.
Fairly good. I take it a step further. I believe we should be talking about, at the beginning of each year, we should be talking about projections versus goals. It's a little less, mythical. It's a little less, like kind of airy and out in the.
It's more concrete.
In the ethos, it's more concrete. Like I want to project, because I have a business, I want to project the revenue that business is going to create. I know what my expenses are. I can budget expenses. I need to project revenue. Mm-hmm. It needs to be a relative amount of certainty that comes along with those projections. So goals are one way to put it. I think we're pretty good at goals. I think making a distinction between goals and projections is important.
Okay.
I think that in addition to that, you should make reasonable assumptions to arrive at those projections. An average sales price would be a good thing that I think a lot of people are probably tracking.
Yep.
A lot of people know what segment of the market they want to serve. They want to be luxury, they want to be investor, they want to be somewhere in the middle, that kind of thing. And I think they probably know how to get into the market they want to get in. What they may not consider in the face of commission compression, discount brokerage, a lot of the themes that we've talked about that have developed, they may not know what commission percentage to use when arriving at those projections. You may have an average sales price that you feel relatively confident in.
But your commission that you're having on each transaction might be fluctuating, right?
It might be based on the niche that you serve. New construction tends to be slightly lower or higher depending on how your market is. Investors sometimes lower. If you list multiple properties for the same person, there's a good chance you're going to cut them a deal. If you're selling really low-priced property, then a lot of times the flat rate commissions exceed the norms, the 3, 4, 5, 6% that you might see. But if you're in the market median and you're just using 3% for your one transaction side projection, you might be off base.
Oh yeah, and especially if you're forecasting out your entire year at 3 points aside all year long. If that's not what your business is, if that doesn't reflect your business, then that number is not going to be what you arrive at.
I mean, think about if you're projecting 3% based on a 3% commission and your average is closer to 2.5%. Okay, that is a 16.5% difference. Okay, so most businesses can't survive a 16.5% missed projection.
It's a pretty
revenue.
Large delta between expectation and
absolutely.
reality.
If your business generates $200,000 a year, that's $32,000 that you just misplaced.
Yeah,
pretty staggering. I think you have to know based on historical performance where your commission percentage should be projected, or you should project low,
right,
and then outperform your projections.
Yeah, and this one is the first one too because it kind of sets up a theme here. All of these are things that you might think are pretty straightforward. Like, I know what our average commission percentage is. It doesn't change that much, but really you don't know until you start to track these things heavily and you start to see the patterns. You can't make accurate projections, and that's what all of the things on this list have in common. Absolutely. You good? I'm going to go to the next one.
No, I think it's important. You just that's pretty simple. Yeah. It's pretty simple. Commissions are not standard. You need to know where your standard lies.
Absolutely. Speaking of standards, the next one has to do with prospecting. And a lot of different teams and even individual agents track their prospecting time, track the number of calls that they make or track the number of conversations they have versus attempts. There's all kinds of ideas out there. But the one that our team focuses on specifically is hours prospected. Talk a little bit about why it's that and not some of these other options.
Well, for us, we've done the power dialing and the really trying to get after the phones to generate new business. We're a team that makes a substantial commitment to internet lead, generated business. Substantial enough for us to, put 25 to 30% of our resources, in terms of expense towards that. So I guess what I want to know is I want to know that we're spending that money efficiently and that we're generating an appropriate amount of revenue. But for me, dials, contacts, conversations, what's a meaningful interaction? Like what, we'll get to probably this will be explained a little more in the next metric, but Gabe, I don't think dialing, however many, 10 numbers into a phone.
Yeah.
Is reflective of value being created in terms of prospecting. We basically looked for a metric that was reasonable, measurable, but not so much minutia attached. Because I don't care if you're dialing 10 numbers just to dial 10 numbers. I really don't care if you dial 1,000 times and produce 0 results. Like, it's very easy to skew your numbers and your value associated with the activity, and I just didn't want to burden my team with it.
Well, and it's worth noting too. We're talking about all these specific tracking things, and now this one's kind of broad, right? It's worth mentioning that we have done that in the past, correct? I mean, we've tracked by dials, we've tracked by contacts versus attempt, we've tracked by meaningful conversation versus leaving a message. Like, we got as into the weeds as you can get.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, the discovery was that the simplest and most effective KPI to track here was how much effort, how much time out of your day did you spend pursuing this activity, which is just prospecting in general. So maybe this is the most broad one out of all the ones that we track, but we arrived there after trying all the specific ones.
I mean, yeah, we got so deep, like pieces of paper where you make little X's over numbers.
Oh, there's a circle for this,
a circle for this, a green highlight for that, yellow highlight for this. Yeah. I mean, follow-up calls to these. So these people, look, I just want to trust my salespeople who are good.
Yep.
You know when we did that? When we had some people that weren't such good salespeople.
Sure.
We made them do things that not good salespeople do.
And it was not particularly easy to get a lot of buy-in on that either.
It was terrible. Like, we got a bunch of fake it kind of numbers.
Yeah.
A bunch of feigned attempts. A bunch of, like seriously just like showing up and going through the motions. Now, here's what we have. We have people that appreciate the fact that I don't micromanage them, and guess what? They go out and they sell some freaking real estate.
Yeah.
And that it's so funny how that parallel is drawn. For me, again, it's about results. We have minimum standards, but they're about results.
Yeah.
They're not about, I mean, look, I'm sorry, but if you put forth the effort and the result doesn't follow, there's a skill problem. If I give you the means to increase your skill set and the results don't follow, then you might just not be good at this.
Yeah.
And you might not ever be. And that's okay, because I'm sure there's something you are great at. It's just not going to be on my team forever, like dragging everybody else down.
Yeah.
The truth, I mean, so when you focus on results, there you go.
But it's interesting, like you said, you find these things out not by hyper managing these people into oblivion. You do it by giving them the freedom and the space to do it, and then you watch what they do.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Well, let's go on to the next one too. This is the third thing in the list of 5 that we came up with. And this one's kind of I think we're going to be able to offshoot on this one. So this one might take some more time. But we track the number of first appointments that people go on. So we should be clear about what we're saying here. We obviously do track how many appointments we set, and we track how many appointments we go on, but we specifically track the number of first appointments. And sometimes we call this a unique opportunity also.
Yeah. Well, you can show the same couple 100 homes on 100 different occasions, but that doesn't mean that you're only going to end up with one sale at the end of that.
Yeah, you don't say, well, this week we're going to see 2 houses this weekend, so that's my second appointment with them.
You drastically skew your numbers if you count the number of face-to-face interactions with a particular client. Yeah, the number of times you leave the office. Really, we're about tracking, tracking things that matter, things that move the needle. When you meet with somebody for the first time, that is a unique opportunity. If a transaction results from that interaction, then that's a conversion, right?
Yeah.
And you can take any number of inferences about your performance from that, but if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Quick wrinkle. What do you say we do in the event of a repeat client? Because we do have some clients who do
another
repeat
unique
business.
opportunity.
That's a second unique opportunity because it's a second transaction.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So first appointment in that buying cycle, right? If you're talking about someone's home that they live in, they're only going to move so often, right? If you're talking about an investor, they're only going to take on so many investment opportunities. If so-and-so buys a rental house, that's an opportunity. When they finish that one, they say, hey, Jay, I'd like to buy another one. That's another opportunity.
But not if you showed them houses in the spring and they gave up because the summer market was too competitive, and then they call you back in winter and say, we're ready to look again. This is all part of the same cycle.
Same opportunity, same cycle, same relationship yielding a specific result.
And it's important to track it this way. Why?
Because you want to know how effective you are. You want to know if someone expresses to you that you've had, look, Gabe, any metric that you want to track, there is an opportunity for skew.
Sure.
There is an opportunity for false positive. There is an opportunity for, arriving at an unexpected result. The point is that when you scale that over a lot of opportunities, a lot of input, inputs, if you will.
Yeah.
You're going to arrive at some reliable kind of trends. We want to be at 50% of unique opportunities resulting in a closed transaction.
Right.
Okay. Now we can get in the weeds. That's 70% of 70% equals 49%, which we round up to 50. 70% of unique opportunities should result in exclusivity, meaning the agent earns the opportunity to work with that client exclusively with no other agents involved. Okay. And 70% of those exclusive clients become a closed transaction.
Right.
That's where we strive. So, but it's much easier to skip a step if you have challenge. Like, let's say somebody's at 20%. Well, let's drill down and let's see, are you getting exclusivity? Are you asking? You and I have had this conversation I don't know how many times. Are you asking for that exclusivity?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're asking for it, you tell me. I asked for it, Jay. They said yes. Fantastic. Okay. Where's the breakdown after that then? Or are you not asking? If you're not asking, then you're essentially providing a service that no one really ever intended on using, and that's another problem.
Right. And I do want to talk about that here in a second. But the other point that I was going to make along these lines is, if you're not tracking this in your office right now, especially if you're a team leader, this can eliminate a lot of the confusion you have when you have an individual on your team who is constantly running. They are out and they are with clients all day long, and that can seem like a great problem to have, right? We talk about it all the time. It's like, busyness is the best thing. If you're busy, you're working, right? But if you have an agent on your team who's, going, like, leaving the office 3 or 4 times a day, they're showing houses here, they're meeting someone at Starbucks here, but you look at these KPIs, and that week when they had 12 appointments they had to meet for on their calendar, only 3 of them were unique opportunities. They're just meeting these people and they have more business to do with them. Then you can start to see why are their closed transactions this low? It's because they're spending a lot of time with their clients they're already working, but they're not generating new opportunities for themselves and new business.
I mean, you can daisy,
start to pull the
you can
curtain
daisy
back.
chain this as far as you want to go. Okay, so let's think about it like this. Let's say you're really busy. You're going on a lot of showings.
100 miles an hour all the
100
time.
miles an hour all the time. Can't keep all the balls in the air. You got a few pending transactions, but you're not hitting our minimum standards, or you're certainly not trending towards achieving your goals. So let's start it from there. Okay, Gabe, you are the agent in question.
Okay.
You haven't generated enough unique opportunities. So how can you be so busy? Well, Jay, I've got a pipeline. These are backlog of unique opportunities from such and such. The market slowed down, inventory, blah, blah, blah. All these excuses, right?
Still working with all these people.
You're still working with these. Okay, so let's examine that. Okay, so you're working with this many buyers. You're showing this many homes. Fantastic. Okay, great. Sounds good. Why are they not buying? Well, there's nothing out there for them to buy. Okay, well, what's this one looking for? This one's looking for this. They're da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Now the diagnosis reveals what? What is the
diagnosis reveals what? Okay, that they're not likely to achieve the goal that they set out to achieve, and you, as a practitioner, have not explained in a respectful way to stay in rapport to them that they need to change their strategy. So instead, you're wasting your gas money, you're wasting your time, and you're not going to achieve your goals because, as is the case, far greater percentage than it should be, you refused to have a difficult conversation effectively.
Yeah, exactly. So by doing this, by working down this list and by having these metrics at your fingertips, literally to look at on your spreadsheet, you can...
Where's the bottleneck?
Yeah, you can quickly find out, is it because you're struggling to move these people to contract? Or they're not comfortable enough with you to commit to the process? Is it because you haven't managed their expectations properly? There's a whole list of things that you can run down. But until you have these metrics where you can find out there is a problem, you're not going to be able to solve the problems you don't know you have.
Oh, we literally... I mean, Gabe, we can give, with the massive spreadsheet we talked about, we can give percentages of appointment to lead. We can give percentage of appointment that is consult versus showing.
Yeah.
We can say percentage of showing or consult to contract written or offer made, percentage offers accepted, percentage accepted offers to closings. I mean, we can go
the list goes on
right down, and you can follow the percentage points as they descend.
As you filter tighter
as
and tighter.
you filter tighter and tighter toward the bottom of the funnel to see, and we could even overlay deal source, team agent, which team agent is this? We can do team as a whole. There's a whole lot of stuff, and I don't want to get so deep into it, but you need to understand that we can literally put our finger on the bottleneck.
Absolutely.
Because you watch these percentages descend in an orderly fashion and then they fall off the table. And you go, okay, that's where your skill needs improvement.
Exactly. I want to go back to one of the ones you said specifically. Here on the team, we talk a lot about the difference between, especially when we're talking about with buyer clients here mostly, but the difference between taking someone on a showing, a new opportunity on a showing. So you call them or they call you, whatever, and you meet them at the house to show them the property versus meeting at a neutral location, a coffee shop, the office, whatever, for a consult where you're meeting with them. And we talk about why that's important. And it leads into what you were talking about, getting exclusivity, which is one of the things that we track. Why do you think there's a huge difference between meeting someone at the house and meeting someone at the office for a consult?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, real estate is extremely voyeuristic. Okay, people satisfy
Thank you, Zillow.
Yeah, they satisfy their desires, their needs, their dreams, their imagination with shopping on the internet and seeing homes in person. Okay, that's a logical step from one to the next. So when they look online, they satisfy a certain amount of curiosity. When they take the next step, they're satisfying more curiosity. Very basically, if they're committed to buying a home, faceless home, right? Like inanimate, just
the concept of a home.
The concept of a home, and they understand the need for representation, then they'll engage a professional to be consulted about the process so that they can have success. That's a commitment to the professional rather than the process. It's also a commitment to the process.
Sure.
But it's sometimes hard for us to see through the veil.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't know when I show someone a home first how committed they are to the process versus the pretty pictures they saw online of this home.
Exactly. So
I don't know how committed they are to me.
And you don't know any of that until after the meeting probably. And you have to lay those seeds. But when we talk about laying the seeds of exclusivity, right, and preparing these people you don't know how much they understand about the process at all. But when someone agrees to meet you at a house, it could be for any number of reasons. It could be because the house, they love the pictures, just like you said. And
they want to get decorating tips.
Yeah, and you're just a ghost. You could unlock the door for them, and they walk through, and they forget you're there. When they meet you at the office, though, there's only one thing they're there to see, and it's you.
That's worst case.
Worst case, sure.
That's worst case scenario is that they're there just to see the pretty pictures.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often that It doesn't happen often that they're 100% detached.
Yeah.
Okay. It's always somewhere in the middle, Gabe.
Yeah.
And you know,
but your job is harder. You have more obstacles to overcome to convince them that they should work with you when you're in the house and that's their primary focus.
Absolutely.
You're constantly wrangling their focus, trying to convince them why they should work with you. When they meet with you for a consult, those obstructions fall away and you get to have the conversation freely.
Let me be clear. 100 times out of 100, I will opt for a consult prior to a showing.
Sure.
If given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. If I believed with 100% certainty that the person will show up for the consult after committing to the consult, which is a whole other thing, we can track appointment show rates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm 100% confident that someone will show up, you can give me certainty, I take a consult 100 times out of 100 versus a showing. Okay. I only take a showing because the interaction does not allow for me to remain in rapport and explain to them why it's necessary that they take a consult prior to a showing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I understand the amount of risk I'm accepting when I go to a showing prior to a consult. And I'm doing that having relied upon my ability to build rapport in the conversation separate from the house, like instill motivation and attachment to me and my service by giving advice, and feeling like I'm at a comfortable place to where I can show them the home. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is another opportunity to build additional rapport and bind them to me and my service.
Yeah. You're building up your foundation here and making your job easier, which is why we track them separately and we have our finger on what's happening when we go on consults versus when we go on showings.
Yeah.
It's not to say agents on this team, you cannot go on any showings until you've held a consult first. That's not what it's about. It's more about we need to know what's happening when Bob on our team goes on a consult first and what happens when Bob meets them at the house.
Well, okay, so think about it like this. Does anyone on our team have as much experience as me?
Probably not. No.
Has anybody sold as many homes as me?
No.
Has anybody been stood up on appointments more than me?
Probably not.
No. Has anybody, encountered as many raw deal type situations as me? No. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have the experience. I know how to handle it. I know how to coach them through it, which means because they don't have the experience, I can't rely on them to know these things as certainly as I do. So as a leader, I have to be able to track how effective they are at their job.
Yeah. And then you have something empirical to show them,
I've
right?
got time and money invested in this enterprise. I have to know how capable they are at doing their job. I can't just take their word for it. Of course, I would love to have some confirmation in the numbers, and we do. We evaluate each and every, team member's numbers on a regular basis. But the truth is that if I know that Gabe gets stood up on a lot of appointments, okay, I'm going to have to coach that. If I know Gabe never gets stood up, I'm going to find something else to give my time and energy to in order to help you get better.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say a minute ago before I moved on. Another key thing this can help with has to do with no-shows, like you said. You might have an agent in the office, Bob, who sets 3 appointments a day. He just lights up the phone. He walks in, appointments fall from the sky, and he leaves. And he's just a superstar. And then you've got Steve, who sets an appointment or 2 a week. And so you're like, man, Steve, you need to be more like Bob. But when you look at these metrics, what do you find out? Steve goes on 100% of the appointments he sets, and Bob sets 3 every day. And
it's a shotgun versus a sniper rifle.
Exactly.
Okay.
And until you see, you might be telling Bob that he needs to be, or Steve that he needs to be more like Bob, right? You need to set more appointments every day. When really, the guy that's setting all these appointments is setting no-show appointments with people who don't plan to show up.
There's something to one shot, one kill, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's where I'm at in my business.
Yeah, where would you rather be?
I don't do a consult on every client.
Sure.
I don't. But let me tell you, I know with supreme certainty who's serious and who's not, and I know who I have to and who I don't. I'll go on a first showing with a new client if I know they're bound to me, if they're committed to me. I mean, I've said it before, and it's a joke. It's a running joke around the office that people ask me, Jay, do you think you've got time to show me? We'd like to write a cash $500,000 offer. Yes, yeah, absolutely. When I know they're serious, I do that.
Exactly.
But that's what it's about.
Right.
That's what it's about.
And I want to bounce off of no-shows, which is one of the big disappointments in real estate, to maybe the biggest disappointment in all of real estate, which is when you have the unfortunate contract release, right? All of us have been through releasing a contract, but that is actually one of the things that we track pretty diligently too. We track all of our release contracts.
Well, I want to know what percentage of bad deals
how many of your deals go sideways? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is very telling. I mean, I'm going to have to look at Marcy here and see if she can give me a little nod. What are we at a team? About 15%? 18%? So we're at 18%,
okay.
Which is not, I'm not happy with that. I'd like to be in the single digits.
That's 18% of all contracts written end up being released.
18% of all, not written, accepted, ratified.
Accepted. Yeah. Not offers.
And that's both listings and buy sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think that you are equally at fault as an agent on the list side or the buy side. You may say that most buyers initiate release of contract based on inspections typically, but the listing agent should have set the proper expectation for the seller as to what they would expect coming away from an inspection.
Yeah.
And how. But one thing I'll say, and I'll rationalize, and I'll be okay with an 18% release rate, because the market is extremely contentious right now between buyers and sellers. The scarcity of inventory makes it such that the relationship between buyer and seller is extremely adversarial.
Right.
So, but we've got, honestly, to be 1,000% honest, we've got team members at 30%. That is really unacceptable. So there's a lot of coaching going on how to hold deals together and how not to write bad deals.
Yeah, because what is more likely, that deals go sideways because of something in the middle of the process, or because they were doomed to go sideways all along because something wasn't set up properly?
It may not be doomed.
Yeah,
but the stage was set.
The stage was set.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah,
they weren't. The negotiation was extremely contentious because
something could have been, a bolt somewhere could have been tightened to prevent it. To help, to give it much less of a percentage. Look, I'm looking for the delta between where we're at and where I'm really happy is 7-8%. If I can get to 10 from 18, we're great. Yeah, that's good.
We're great.
That's a good move.
1 in 10. 1 in 10 is fine for me. right now in this climate. Okay. But that percentage can be ratcheted down by doing a couple of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said before, we don't want to get it confused with offer acceptance rate, which is also something that we track for totally different reasons. But this is the deals that are under contract that end up falling apart for one reason or another.
I mean, let's be clear. You should probably be tracking all these things.
Yeah.
Okay. The 5 things that we're gonna share with you today. I guess that was number 4.
Yeah, we have one more.
So the 4 that we've shared and the one that we're about to share with you are things that you probably not thought of. And what percentage of deals get released? Most people want to forget a deal forever
move on. Yeah,
once
shake
it's
it
been
off.
released. Okay, and not revive the bad taste in anyone's mouth associated. They just want to turn the page. For me, look, I know that we have agents on our team that get like 99% of their offers accepted and rarely have 2 to 3% release rates.
Yeah.
Those agents are rock solid, and I want to spend my time on helping them find more clients.
Yep.
Or perfecting their schedule, or
Because
being
if you
more
tee it
efficient.
up for them, they knock it out.
Yeah, if they get an opportunity, they crush.
Yep.
And so,
But it happens to everybody, even the best. It
but
happens
the
sometimes.
hamsters on a wheel that spin those tires, that spin that wheel and never get anywhere, those are the ones that really wear me out, because you work too hard to find a deal to lose it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said, this is not just a function to help you relive painful moments from your year. It's to help you figure out where coaching is needed, where, specific tweaks are needed. That's what all of these have in common. Yeah. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on to number 5, which everybody that's listening to this, in tracking 101, they're tracking their closed deals. Like, duh. That's what everybody is tracking. But one of the things we specifically track for the team as a whole and for our team members is your closed deals and your pending deals together as a compilation. So why is that instead of having them separate?
Well, it's important to look. I mean, closed deals is good. You want to know
where are you at for the year? How many deals
where
have you
at
closed
for the year? But when you combine closed and pending, so our industry, we've got a lead time on production, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you can take your closed and pending transactions together, you can examine the relationship between the number of closed you have and the number of pending you have at any one point in the year. Specifically, like right now, we're late spring, early summer, right? Knowing the seasonality of our business, you've got, busiest times are ahead for this year. And then there comes a point in time, usually around August, where things slow down a little bit. And then they pick back up a little bit once people get settled into school. And then they kind of run, at least here in Louisville, they run to about Thanksgiving. And then we close up shop for the year. And we're preparing at that point for the following year.
It's kind of the normal cycle.
That's the normal cycle. So, but right now you can look back just ahead of end of Q2. You can cycle back and you can say, okay, what do I have under contract that is reasonable, has a reasonable expectation of closing? Plus, what have I already closed? And it gives me a better indication of where I'm going to end up. It gives me a pace.
It gives you direction.
It gives me momentum. Like, I can read how much momentum we have by looking at closed and pending.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, right now, our team has 68 pendings. We've got about 110 closings. Okay, so if you think about that, that's pretty staggering. Like, that's a large number of pending transactions as compared to the number of closings we have. Number of closings in roughly 5 months, 110, that's about 22 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you bolt on 68 more pending transactions,
all of a sudden you start to realize.
in the next 30 days, we have a reasonable chance of closing 45 or 50 of those in the next 30 days.
And you know your close rate because you're tracking your close rate too.
You know your close rate. You can probably factor in some attrition there. So this percentage, 18%, are usually going to not close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you back that out, we've got a reasonable expectation that we could close 50 transactions. What does 50 through 6 months do for your yearly average per month versus 22, where you were at the month before?
Yeah, exactly.
So 150 divided by 6 takes your average to closer to 30 transactions per month. In 1 month's time, we're gonna raise our average from 22 to 30 almost.
There you go. And now you know that because, and the simplest way to describe this is if you're talking about just tracking your closings, you have your x-axis and your y-axis, right?
Yep.
The months of the year and the number of deals you close. If you're just tracking your closings, it's like going a stamp on the board. It's one dot on the graph. But
Closed and pending is a living figure.
Exactly. When you have closed and you have pending, now you have a relationship. You actually have a graph. You have a line. You have something that denotes, momentum in one direction or another. And now you can actually start to make predictions based off of it.
Yeah. It's not like the beginning of every year. It's like we wipe the slate clean and we get real optimistic and we say, what can we do
This is the year.
This is the year. Best year ever.
Yep.
It's like old Tom Ferry.
Why be any other way?
Every year
it sounds
is BYE.
hokey, but why would you say this year's just going to be okay?
Every year is BYE, and according to Mr. Ferry, which that's great. I said, that's his game.
Why would you act any other way?
That's his game. So, but you wipe the slate clean every year. You get real optimistic about what you're going to do, and it's real easy to fall victim to that. Like end of the first quarter, you never ever look at your goals again for the rest of the year. This is for us. Allowed us to stay out in front, to stay engaged in the number. Okay, we've fallen victim to setting lofty goals and having little chance at achieving them in the past, but this year we're on pace, and I know we're on pace because I could keep track of our pendings alongside of our closed.
Exactly, you know the relationship at any given point in time, and you can forecast out the year.
Let me ask you this: we're at 110 closed. It's almost the end of May. Okay. Almost. 110, 22 a month. Okay. Our goal is 350. If you just in a vacuum look at that 22 a month average for 5 months, you would say we have very little chance of hitting our goal.
Yeah. In the months that we have left, if we're averaging 22 a month.
I mean, just take 22 times 12. It's like 250. Yeah. We're going to be 100 units shy.
Yeah. And that's without even factoring in seasonality effects like we were talking about.
Exactly. It's a little more than 250 when you think about it like that. And yes, seasonality would have you like some of the shyest.
These are the rawest of raw.
So January and February are some of the shyest closing months of the year because the slowest sales months are November and December.
Right.
So they're immediately following those slow sales months. So seasonality makes that absolutely misleading. But if you just look at that, but if all of a sudden you add in 68 pendings.
Wait, so you're at, what was the number? 122? Is that what you said? Or what did you say was the number we have closed right now?
110.
110.
Plus 68.
Yeah, and now you have 68 that are pending right now.
And now you're at 180 through 6 months.
Yeah.
180 through 6 is 30 average. So now you're talking about 360, not 250.
Now you're above. Now you're
ahead of pace.
Exactly.
So that's the thing that you have to consider. Now we're not quite ahead of pace because you back 18% release rate off, and you consider the fact that
there's more math.
Anything that sells in November, December may not.
Yeah, but we're sure not at 250.
The point is, we're not 100 off. We're pretty well on pace.
Exactly. And as we go month to month, quarter to quarter, we will know how to adjust because we have these figures in front of us.
Absolutely.
That's the key. That's what all of this is about, and that's why we specifically want to talk about this today. When the more things that you track, the more important things that you track. Like, don't track dumb stuff that doesn't matter. But the more important things that you track that can be used as KPIs, key performance indicators, things that will predict your future success or failure, you start to have this almost supernatural ability to change the course of your business mid-year. You don't have to wait till the end of the year to review your stats and say, wow, what happened last year? You know what's happening this month. You know what's happening this week. You know what's happening for this team member this moment because you have it all in front of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in the spirit of, I'm going to make up a word, tacticalness.
I'm making this face because I'm trying to think if it actually is a word.
I don't know if it is or not. In the spirit of providing practical advice.
Hashtag tacticality.
Tactical. This is going to be a t-shirt, Marcy. It's happening. No, in the interest of being tactical, like how do you track all these things?
Sure, that's a great question.
Okay, number one, it's a lot of effort. Okay,
like you said, it's a decade in the making. Ours is.
Any system is the system you work. Right? Any process that you can put in is what you work. How do we do it? I'll tell them how we do it. We gamify it with the team. The hardest part of any team leader or broker at tracking appropriate metrics is buy-in, but you have to have buy-in in collection. Mm-hmm. Like, remember I said we used to hand out pieces of paper and they put little scratch marks on them. Like, that is a pain in the ass to
now you need even a data entry person on staff.
Even if they give it to you and it's correct, which you can't even make that assumption because it's so painful to collect. They're just scribbling stuff down.
One person's got it in their bag and they're out for the weekend and just like
it's
forget
just a pain. So what did we do? We tied this, and here's my advice. You need to, if you're running a team, you need to have a public forum for your team only, not public as in the sense that your
Yeah.
clients see it, but a
team-wide meeting space,
a team-wide digital meeting space that allows them. And I suppose you could do it with a whiteboard at your Monday meeting, but it's better if it's digital.
'Cause then it's up to the minute.
It's up to the minute, and you need a method of collection that is easy, okay, and it allows them to gain public praise within your team construct in order in exchange for providing the data.
Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of big words, so here's how we do it.
Yeah.
We have a form, an electronic form. We distribute it via a link. They save it as a shortcut on their home screen of their phone.
Yeah.
And every time they do something,
That is a KPI, something
that
we
is
want to track.
one of our inputs, okay, something that we deem valuable. Every time they fill out that form, it pushes a message to the group conversation that everyone is a part of. We use slack.com for this, and Wufoo, WUFOO.com forms. They talk to one another, and with Zapier and some integrations, it's not the hardest thing in the world to set up, but it's a little tedious. And Marcy definitely manages all that, and that's how we've been able to keep this running. They push their success into a group forum,
and it posts it for everyone to see that team member A just held a consult, or team member A just had a closing.
Team member A just did an hour of prospecting.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Team member B just had a $500,000 closing. Team member C just, went on a listing appointment and got it. Listing appointment held, listing taken.
Listing taken. When you see those two together, that's a big moment for celebration.
Well, anytime you see appointment, you see offer written, you're waiting. Like, is there a pending?
The whole team is waiting with bated breath, right? We saw that, Agent A wrote an offer. Is it going to get accepted?
When's it going to get accepted? How long do they have to respond? Like, we're shouting each other's successes.
And now everyone's involved. Everyone's a part of it.
Everyone's involved. It's a huge culture lift. Okay. And I'm collecting all the data I need because it's all right there in that form. Like, I got to ask them, okay, you wrote an offer. What was the price? What was the address? Who was the client? What was the
and you're not sending emails on Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sending me your
hey,
numbers.
I didn't get your numbers for this week. Where are your numbers? Oh, I forgot to take the numbers. Like, that's not happening to you.
It's not foolproof. Some people forget.
But man, is it easier.
But it's so much easier when you know that there is positive reinforcement on the other side, and there is no single thing that we do as a team that has contributed to a greater team culture than this process.
Exactly.
And it's the most valuable thing that team leaders across the country, brokers and team leaders across the country, are struggling to solve this issue. Okay? It's really that simple. Shout them out in a group forum. How many times do these conversations end up in emojis and funny memes getting posted?
Yep.
I mean, like, you give a group of intelligent people and funny and fun people the opportunity to help each other by shouting each other's successes and supporting one another. They find some very interesting ways to do it. Gabe, I'm looking at you.
I'm thinking of a specific one from someone else, though. We can talk about it after.
Yeah, there's that. All I'm saying is numbers are nothing if you can't collect them or if you can't trust their validity.
Yeah.
Right. And then once you have this data, you can chop it up in a spreadsheet 1,000,001 ways to make it more or less meaningful, depending on how you want to do it.
So the key takeaways from today, before we wrap this episode: 1, and obviously you got the list of 5. Go back and listen to them again. But 1, make tracking easy, fun, something that's painless, so that data collection is the least of your issues. That's the least of our issues.
I don't know another way to do it other than how we do it.
Exactly.
And I've tried them all.
That's the point here. We've tried them for you, so you don't have to. So make it fun, make it engaging, get everybody involved. And that way you have the data at your fingertips. Then you need some kind of way to view it. You need to be able to access it when you need it so that you can make these predictions on the fly. Like you said, we've got the spreadsheet. We wish we could send you the spreadsheet. It is so large, there's no way we could get it to you. If you want to see it, you have to come to the museum of J.T. Pitts and Associates and come see it for yourself. Come fly to Louisville and we'll show you the spreadsheet. It's like the Rosetta Stone here in the office. It can't leave the office. So once you've got the data, you need a way to view the data. But the big point is, number 3, if you're not tracking it right now and you think you should be, you're correct. You should be. Yeah. And you need to start tracking it today. Find a way to track it and get it into the spreadsheet so that you can see it.
Love it.
That's it.
It's that simple, man.
Exactly.
It really is. I don't mean to truncate and close up shop and say, thanks folks, that's all.
Bye-bye.
But no, seriously, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like our 5 metrics, Pick something else.
Yeah, and
if you want to track dials, go ahead.
If you're looking for more reasons why, like I said, head to season 1. You can go back in season 1, scroll down, find the episode where we talked about key performance indicators. Also, all of our episodes that we're doing this season are all on our YouTube page. So feel free to head over to YouTube to see full episodes where you can watch, and send this to your team leader if you're not a team leader, so that they know you want this stuff tracked. This is stuff that's going to impact your business on the individual agent level all the way up to the team level.
Or track it for yourself.
And just track it for yourself. Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of team leaders that won't do it. They've got 30 years experience, and they've always been able to find the business, and they know they convert, and they're just not going to waste their time doing it.
Yeah, maybe
that's
you're
fine.
the next team leader.
Track it for yourself. I mean, serious business folks, we're here to help you. I hope this information is very valid. Check back off, and we've got more episodes coming. We got lots of good ideas. I'll credit Gabe for coming up with this idea today. It's something that we do that is very, very unique to our team, and we take it farther. When you mind the details support your business.
Absolutely. Well, you know where to find us. Feel free to shoot us any questions you have about the metrics that we track, but make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and find us for our next episode.
One last plug. If you're here in Louisville, okay, and you're listening to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, go find the Hour 502 podcast.
Yep.
Hour 502 is the new podcast we're producing for Louisville people. It's for Louisville, by Louisville. It's entrepreneurs, industry leaders, thought provokers, influencers, all these types of people. Very interesting. We have an episode with Joey Wagner, the king of the Kentucky Derby. Party scene, event planner, extraordinaire, just went live here recently. Great episode. We'd love you to check that out as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for today. Until next time, this is Resource, real talk about real estate. We'll see you guys soon.
That's all, folks.